What a beautiful rendition of Aller Seelen. Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook's online service. My name is Mike Hoffman, and I am honored to be serving as your worship associate, along with our minister, the Reverend Margie Allen. We welcome those of you who are attending our service in our sanctuary, as well as those attending virtually. For any newcomers here today, or those that still feel like newcomers, we're glad you found us, and please come back for several services to get a true understanding of who we are as a community of faith. You can also get more information and sign up for our newsletter and mailing list on our website, which is at UUFSB.org. If you can, please stay with us following the service for our virtual social time, and then for our small group chats. There you can meet with just a few people at a time who can give you more detailed information about us and activities that are going on despite the pandemic, or you can talk about anything at all. You can leave the group anytime you want, so stay as long as you like. You'll get instructions at the end of the service about how to attend the chat rooms. Deborah Little is our Director of Religious Education, or DRE. The in-person Religious Education RE program will be starting in 2 weeks. Here's a message from Deb regarding the specifics. We want families to know that there has been a change in the date on which RE classes and youth group will begin. We will offer RE class in Julia's Garden and Tiny Tots in the Blue Room beginning Sunday, September 26th, between 10:30 and 11:30 a.m. Parents will need to sign up to attend the service on that day. Watch for more information in emails from the DRE, in the news feed, and also on the website. Youth group will also start outdoors on the deck on that same day, Sunday, December 26th, between 4 and 6 p.m. All adults, children, and youth, except the Tiny Tots, must wear masks. We can't wait to see everyone. Thank you. We are now in the middle of the Jewish High Holy Days. Rosh Hashanah has passed, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, begins at sundown on Wednesday, September 15th. Today's service honors those traditions. I must say that each year, this service is an especially powerful one for me. The theme of self-reflection and forgiveness and the music, especially the Kol Nidre, brings me deep inside myself. Perhaps that's true for you too. Again, I welcome you all to today's service.
Our morning bell welcomes us every Sunday across the threshold of sacred space and time into the spirit of worship. This morning, we ask her to sing in memory of all who lost their lives in or whose lives were shortened by the calamity of September 11th, 2001. Those in the planes, in the buildings, in the rescue effort, in the grief, and in the years of war that followed, warriors and civilians alike. We remember them.
Our chalice lighting words this morning are by Joanna Lubkin, someone who has a connection to our own fellowship. We light this chalice in honor of Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement. May its flame call us to search our souls. May its light guide us toward courageous and open-hearted apology. May its heat warm our hearts to offer forgiveness to those who have wronged us. And may its strength help us to take the actions that are within our power to make this next year more just, more loving, and more peaceful for our community and for all of humanity.
Amen. In most Jewish sanctuaries, above the ark in which the Torah scrolls are kept, a light burns continually, night and day, year after year, in compliance with God's commandment as recorded in Exodus chapter 20. This is the Ner Tamid, the ever-present light in the darkness, a reminder of the inextinguishable presence of God even when all else seems lost in shadow. Jewish culture also preserves the Yiddish expression pintele yid, the little point of light in the soul that exists in each Jew, no matter what distance from their ancestors' faith they may be currently removed. This idea of an eternal source of light both within us and beyond us, of course, is also a Christian idea, and from this double heritage, we UUs have also preserved a similar theology of light. Our chalice light does not burn night and day in our sanctuary, but as the only chalice extinguishing reading in our current hymn book collection reminds us, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. That light is our eternal flame, the light we gather as Unitarian Universalists on Sunday mornings and then carry into the world as wisdom and love and justice and hope. We come here to seek and absorb the light we invoke in worship, that we might each shine more brightly on the net of little lights that is our interconnected life. Let our opening hymn bring you singing into the circle of light our chalice casts this morning. Shine on Me is a traditional African American spiritual taught and led here by Melanie DeMore, and available to us today courtesy of Melanie and the UUA. Turn your volume up for this one. It starts and it ends very quietly.
Hello, UU family. I'm going to sing a song with you called Shine on Me. It's an amazing spiritual that anybody can sing. And in these days when the things that we're dealing with, the feeling separate and all of that, and things seem so hard, this is one of those songs that you just throw your head back, put it in your medicine kit. All you have to do is ask. And here's how it goes. Shine on me, oh shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me, oh shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Lift me up, oh, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, lift me up, yes, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, hold me close, yes, hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse hold me close, yes, hold me close, oh, hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse, please, hold me close. Oh, shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me, oh, shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. All you have to do is just ask. The light is always there. Always. Always. Oh, yeah.
So come now, all you so shiny together, a shimmering pool of virtual light in sacred time and sacred space. Let us settle in for a time of meditation, prayer, reflection. It's already started. A few words some time in silence together, out of which we will all emerge to sing. This morning, we sing a hymn we sang last week, the one with the line that goes, "Light, shine in, illuminate our inward view." People who shine, that is, people whose inner light is visible in the everyday, are courageous beings. They choose to open themselves to the world, to be seen through, like that house you might walk by in the late evening that, bathed within in its own lamplight, looks so warm and cozy and safe that you long to go in and just sit on the couch by the fire. People who shine gather others around them like the sun gathers flowers. They are not by any means designer perfect inside, but they can name the next not quite right thing they aim to replace or repair. Their imperfections, in the meantime, feel comfortable and safe and even warm to those who gather round because they are owned. They are domesticated works in progress. And because they are owned and domesticated, they have become, while they last, more dear than dangerous. So here are 2 questions to take with you into the coming silence. Have you ever known anyone who shines? Have you ever known anyone who shines? And what did you learn in their light? As you ponder these or other questions that arise for you, spend a little time, or a lot if you like, with the image that you will see in a moment. And on the other side of this shared silence, I invite you to sing, "Winds, Be Still." Thank you, Dee Dee and Peter. I know you're out there. The courage to feel. The Jewish High Holy Days began last Monday evening with Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the new year. Yom Kippur begins this Wednesday evening, 10 days later. The ancient melody of the Kol Nidre that we will hear later in this service calls the Jewish people at the first of several solemn gatherings on Yom Kippur back to their God, back to the people to whom they are connected in community, back to their own deepest selves, and back to their sacred calling in life as individuals and as a people of faith. But turning back towards that which really matters in our life is the work of all human beings, regardless of the religious wrappings the process involves. We recognized last Sunday that we too experience the early fall as a time of beginnings. Even the natural world begins now to shed the skin of its old life in the cycle of seasons. I invite you this morning to join in the turning, looking back in this good company today at the year now passing into memory, to begin to tend to what is yet unresolved there, particularly in your network of relationships, as we prepare ourselves for our own homecoming at the end of this month. Are there any little messes to be made right in your life before you address the challenges and opportunities in the year ahead? This service is the first in a series of 6 on courage, inspired by a blog I admire called Lion's Whiskers by Lisa Dungate, a parenting coach and child and family therapist, and Jennifer Armstrong, her friend, an award-winning author of historical fiction for children and teens. They look at courage in 6 broad and overlapping contexts, and we'll consider them in this order: emotional courage today, moral, physical, and intellectual courage this fall and early winter, and then in the spring, social and spiritual courage. Our little piece of history right now is calling us to respond with courage to a set of global, community, and personal challenges that many of us, I'm sure, myself included, are finding spiritually overwhelming, physically and psychologically debilitating to one degree or another, and energetically quite expensive. I hope you will find a regular courage booster as helpful in the hearing as I hope I will in the writing. As some of you may heard, our Committee on Ministries of the Congregation, the COMC, with Deb Little and me alongside, has a final draft of a UUFSB Covenant of Right Relationship ready to share in the coming news feed. This one reflects our best effort to attend to every jot and tittle of the feedback we've received as each previous draft rolled out. Keep an eye out for opportunities for discussing it in a town hall meeting later this fall. This is the living draft we will vote to endorse or not at our annual congregational meeting in June if there's no earlier opportunity to address it. This covenant asks us to adjust our relationship with one another, not all at once, but deliberately, from nice to right. It describes what right relationship looks like in a multicultural world. It calls us to challenging spiritual work. The courage to engage it is going to be drawn from all 6 categories in the sermon series. And I would say that emotional courage, backed by a significant uptick in our understandings of our faith commitment, will be the foundation of our successful grappling. Just ahead in our order of service, we engage together in a litany of atonement, a listing of some ways that we are likely at some point in the past year to have failed one another as a community of faith. Certainly, at least a few among us will recognize themselves as we name out loud together our 8 confessions. We ask for forgiveness from ourselves and from one another, and the opportunity to begin again together in this new season, knowing that we all share some portion of responsibility for harm done by any one of us, and therefore responsibility also for repair, healing, and the work of continuing collective spiritual growth. The Litany of Atonement you will see on your screen today, reading number 637 in our hymn book, is a reflection of a covenant you will not see on your screen. Next year, when the time comes to think about how we are doing this together in fellowship, we might see our own articulation of covenant reflected in the words we read together then. This concrete kind of turning has a level of spiritual integrity that makes my own minister's heart sing. We Unitarian Universalists don't have the kind of covenant with God as a community of faith that the Jewish people have. We weren't freed from slavery, given 10 commandments and the Torah, and a promised new land by a God who called us his people. We UUs have a covenant with each other, with those who kept it in the past, and with those who will receive it from us in the future. In keeping that covenant, given our principles and other commitments as a body, we become a people of faith and a force, if not for God, for good. To invoke again the aggregation of light metaphor, it takes all of us gathered together to light our collective path forward, and in the process, our own path in spiritual growth. Together, the light we bring to life can be a real source of peace and a foundation for thriving, not just for ourselves, but for all life on earth. What we are trying to do together, day to day, Sunday to Sunday, as Unitarian Universalists, is equip ourselves incrementally with everything we need to be able to shine, and then to shine wherever light is needed to see the right path forward. And now finally I've come around to today's topic, and I've got half a page left. Fortunately, you already have a piece of it from my opening words and meditation, and there's more coming after. But here's the thing. Fundamental to the process of shining is the practice of transparency. In terms of emotional courage, this means that a primary spiritual practice for us as individuals in making communal decisions is learning how to know and express what core emotion we are experiencing as a body, to name the feelings. Hold on just a second. Sorry about that. To name the feelings that are arising and to interpret as accurately as we can what those feelings are trying to tell us we need to do or say. If I don't know the language through which my own body communicates its observations about what is happening in the moment, I am not going to be equipped to manage the higher function of keeping covenant in my relationships. And if I have difficulty being faithful to covenant in my relationships, then I will be tripping frequently over my own homemade pitfalls. And life will be more difficult than it needs to be, and not just for me, but for everyone with whom I am connected. Emotional courage is the willingness to feel. The willingness to feel and interrogate with curiosity and with compassion the whole range of feelings that arise when your body reacts to life. It is no fun to be angry or afraid or disgusted, but not being able to name and think about the feelings that are driving you will render you completely opaque to the people on the receiving end. Being clear about what is going on in your body takes courage because so many barriers stand in the way. First of all, experiencing a compelling feeling gets in the way of your plans. Taking time to ask yourself what is going on and why this feeling is arising takes time you may not think you have to take. Talking out loud with others who are present in that moment requires a high level of personal vulnerability and even more time and a willingness to be uncomfortable for longer than you might be used to. A ton of attendant fears come up when strong feelings arise. Like, if I cry now, I think I'll never stop. What if I get stuck in grief? Or what if people see me cry? Am I being some label, a crybaby? Am I being a typical angry woman, a snowflake? If I allow myself to take in the full depth and breadth of this joy, what kind of grief will I have to face when the joy dissipates? And I know some of us know this feeling. I can't stand to feel this way. I want it to go away. Sometimes reactions to feelings are a product of our early experience in our families. I can say that I was shaped by my family not to count on any promised good thing because alcohol makes everything very unpredictable. It was easier not to look for happiness or joy because it could be snatched from me in a hot minute by the meanness or the mindlessness of others. All these barriers to feelings can make the choice to ignore or deny and suppress a strong feeling seem like the way to go in the moment. But as we know, suppressed feelings leak out in damaging ways we don't see or can't control. Also, in suppressing feelings, we deprive ourselves of the opportunity to do the very thing we are supposed to do here together, equip ourselves for shining, practice hard things, live our principles, and tell each other over the course of our time together the story of who we are with our whole heart, the truth, without shame, the spiritual practice of transparency and connection. That level of vulnerability is made much more possible in a space that feels safe, or safer anyway, for soul searching. This hard, counterintuitive, habit-breaking work, and this is hard, counterintuitive, habit-breaking work, and even one careless, unconfronted voice can send a person who is courageously struggling to articulate a feeling back into silence and with the additional baggage of shame or anger or both. Which brings me back to our as yet unratified covenant of right relationship. Being in covenant, committing to a way of being with each other that honors the courage of self-revelation and the active process of our spiritual growth as individuals and as groups of various sizes, being in covenant with one another creates a space in which you have the opportunity to grow each other up in love. And being in explicit covenant with one another makes the process of atonement, confession, understanding, and repair more real, more meaningful, and potentially more transformative at those times we are brave enough to work something out at the intersections of our spiritual paths together. So my charge to you this morning is a once-a-day spiritual practice. See if you can do it, and you can email me and tell me the stories or how you're doing or how hard it is or how easy. Here's how it goes. Stop what you're doing when you have a feeling. Take 5 minutes. Name the feeling. Think about how it actually is working in your body. Where do you sense it coming from? What is it doing to your body? And then ask the feeling what it is trying to tell you. It's a message. Feelings are messages about needs. Then ask yourself if this feeling calls for an action. Ask yourself, what would you do? Stop, name the feeling, think about what it's doing in your body right then, ask what it is trying to tell you, then ask yourself if this feeling calls for an action. What would you do? Amen. Now, in preparation for the Litany of Atonement that follows, we offer this rendition by Susan T. Mashiyama of a hymn in our Teal hymnal, number 1013, Open My Heart. The repeated verse is, open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Sing along or just listen as you are so moved.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part I seek. Let me be part of the love. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part I seek. Let me be part of the love. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
Please join us in a litany of atonement composed by Robert Eller Isaacs. I will begin with the words in regular type, and I invite you to join Reverend Margie and our other readers in reading aloud the italicized words, which are the repeated response, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
for the selfishness which sets us apart and alone,
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
for falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit,
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
for losing sight of our unity,
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
for those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
Amen. As part of our spiritual practice of generosity, it is our custom to split our virtual collection plate with a community social justice organization. This past month, our world has experienced a number of natural disasters. Therefore, for the month of September, the community part of our donations will be split between two organizations working to provide relief aid in the short term and advocacy for environmental justice in the long term to two of these hard-hit areas. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee Emergency Relief Fund has pre-positioned disaster relief in order to respond quickly to the damage due to Hurricane Ida in Louisiana and surrounding areas. They will directly support those most affected and least able to respond, while committing resources to address the short-term impacts of the storm. They also will advocate in solidarity with local communities to change systems and promote environmental justice. The second organization, Partners in Health, is a healthcare organization which has been partnering with local communities in Haiti for over 30 years. They are uniquely situated to respond to the earthquake and hurricane crisis that have caused so much damage and pain there this year. Information on how to donate is being shown on the screen now. And there is a link in the chat box so you can click there as well. Please support the work of these two organizations in alleviating suffering and promoting justice in a world so very much in need of both. Please give generously, and thank you.
These are our friends Hsin-Ciao and Phuc. So grateful for their continued support of excellent music in our congregation. Our closing words are an excerpt from a poem by Jan Richardson called How the Stars Get in Your Bones. Sapphire, diamond, emerald, quartz, think of every hard thing that carries its own brilliance, shining with the luster that comes only from unaccountable ages in the earth, in the dark, buried beneath unimaginable weight, bearing what seems impossible, bearing it still. And you, shouldering the grief you had thought so solid, so impermeable, the terrible anguish you carried as a burden, now become, who can say what day it happened, a beginning. See how the sorrow in you slowly makes its own light, how it conjures its own fire. See how radiant even your despair has become in the grace of that sun. I tell you, this blazing in you, it does not come by choosing the most difficult way, the most daunting. It does not come by the sheer force of your will. It comes from the helpless place in you that despite all cannot help but hope, the part of you that does not know how not to keep turning toward this world, to keep turning your face toward this sky, to keep turning your heart toward this unendurable earth, knowing your heart will break, but turning it still. I tell you, this is how the stars get in your bones. This is how the brightness makes a home in you as you open to the hope that burnishes every fractured thing it finds and sets it shimmering, a generous light that will not cease, no matter how deep the darkness grows, no matter how long the night becomes.
As I extinguish our chalice this morning, I repeat a brief portion of Reverend Margie's opening words, reading number 456 in the back of your hymn book. This is by Elizabeth Sella Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Thank you, Mike, for being my good worship assistant. In benediction, Bryant McGill reminds us, there is no love without forgiveness, and there is no forgiveness without love. May we search our hearts to find the love that enables us to forgive those who may have hurt or wronged us. May we forgive ourselves as well as we continue with each other's help to invite our imperfections into clear view and to disarm them with the warmth of our own kind regard and our own firm resolve to study, reflect, and repair. Amen. Blessed be.
Yeah.